Digital 410 Productions proudly presents the What's in Your Head podcast.
Digitized live from the ACT Computer Studios in Cape Coral, Florida, it's the What's in Your Head podcast with your hosts Gordon and Don Abernathy.
What's up, OG5? It's another Monday, and holy hell, can we believe that it's March already?
Yeah.
This year is floating by fast. Hopefully it goes... I don't know, I kind of felt 2020 went by fast, but even with all the pandemic and nonsense we went through, maybe a lot of people would disagree, but I felt... 2020 went by fast. Here we are already into March 1st.
Yeehaw! March 1st.
The older you get, the quicker time flies, man. It's insane. Remember when you're a kid, like that 3 weeks between Thanksgiving and Christmas seemed like a fortnight?
Hell, sitting in the car waiting on mom wherever she was seemed like a fortnight. Can't do that anymore, though, can they?
I can still remember to this day sitting in mom's car in the parking lot of IGA in... I was going to say
100%.
Richwood, but that's Union, Kentucky. At IGA's probably closed. No AC. Yeah. Middle of like July or whatever in the summertime. Windows rolled down, just bouncing from the back bench seat to the front bench seat. What was that, the old white Nova? What car did she get left
There
behind?
was the white Galaxy 500 with the red interior.
Yeah, which I think JD left for that one, right?
Yep.
Was that a grocery getter version or no?
Nope. That was not. It was 3 on the tree. I believe it was maybe a fastback or a notchback. I don't really remember. I was also young at that time. Before that, I believe there was a powder blue Nova.
Okay.
God, and what else was there? I mean, there was an array of vehicles, but yeah, JD actually had some pretty cool cars in that garage.
Yeah.
You remember that garage at all?
Vaguely. Only thing I can remember about the garage is the pile of coal in front of it, the car inside. Obviously, that's the location of the Malamute who so affectionately tore my head open to the point where I needed to have staples in my skull, which did this wonderful thing to my hairline.
So can I tell you my what I remember of that story real quick?
Sure.
Hell, might as well. So we get off the bus, and there's a strange dog tied up in our yard in the front hand. So it'd be the left-hand side of the garage out front of the left-hand door. We're walking up. We're like, oh, that's cool. We grew up with dogs, right? There were dogs everywhere. We've never met a dog that didn't like us, and
well, it's because our aunt and our grandparents both raised and showed German Shepherds as well as another array of small dogs with bulgy eyeballs.
Yeah. And so you walk up and you start petting, and that dog tore.
No, Lisa started petting it first. Our sister walked up first and started petting it.
And then you started petting it, and all I remember after that is me trying to yank it off of you. I was 4th, 5th grade maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And all I remember is yanking it off you, and finally got it it released you at some point in time, and that's when Mom came pulling up in her apple shit green colored Pinto fastback.
Luckily for me, the dog was on a chain.
Yes.
And so much like the old Leghorn Foghorn cartoons with the dog on the chain, there's a perimeter, if you will, or a circumference. And
we got you out of it.
And you actually went and knocked down Mom's clothesline and used the steel pole from the clothesline to hit it. And then you drug me out of the perimeter of its reach of the clothesline.
Yep.
And it was
the thing is, I don't even remember doing that.
And it was in October in Kentucky. Mm-hmm. And Mom was
brand new school year.
4 or 5 car lengths behind the school bus. And she gets there, and I'm just doused in blood. I'm like in 1st grade, I think. No, 1st grade. So you had to been, you were like 4th or 5th. You had to been in 5th grade.
I think I was in 4th grade, to be quite honest.
And so she douses me with the garden hose to get all the blood off me to figure out where the hell I'm bleeding from. And amazingly enough, I don't know how, because of the driveway, it sat where the barn, the house, and the action of attack location was about 30 to 40 yards off of the main road. But somehow, I guess maybe due to the traffic, the fact that people didn't have cell phones back then, somebody was in their car and just happened to see the shit going down and pulled in their driveway and offered to drive me and Mom to the hospital instead of Mom driving herself.
Yeah, she was, as any mom would be, panicked mess.
And you guys weren't there. I remember when we got to the hospital, we did
I was there.
did the whole waiting room thing, and Mom asked the nurse for a blanket because once again it's October and she sprayed me down with the water hose to figure out where the blood was coming from. To which point the nurse asked what for. My mom said, "Well, my kid's fucking purple." So, and to this day I can remember laying in the gurney looking at her while the doctor was putting staples in my head.
Mm. Yeah, I think actually our grandparents took us to the hospital after that. I think they showed up quite quickly.
The other trauma I remember was when her and her boyfriend at the time decided to tear down half the chicken coop and turn the right side into a clubhouse for us. And it
still had old chicken shit everywhere.
Oh, of course. You wouldn't, pressure.
We didn't care. That's why we haven't caught the COVID.
It's immune system. And it was still under construction, and I was down there in my...
Well, I was use down the there term construction loosely.
Okay, it was still under demolition, demo mode. And hey, what's up, Morgan Long, checking in NJ5. And so, for some reason, I was walking down there, and I'm sure whatever, I'm not sure where the technology was for a 5-year-old's footwear, back in 1981. But anyhow, I stepped on a nail, and it went into my foot. And I remember I had to go get a tetanus shot. And I can remember I was at home sleeping, and apparently Nanan came by while I was sleeping, and as things do when Nanan comes by, is some point someone whipped out the vanilla ice cream and Hershey syrup, and I woke up and caught everybody. It was in not a good mood to find out while I was asleep with a boo-boo on my foot, you guys were enjoying ice cream and Hershey syrup, you son of bitches.
And that set the tone. I've missed out on everything.
Yep. Yep. Oh.
No, but God. So that's been a little bit of a rough day. God, what can I say? So I rescued myself from being an asshole.
That's always good, especially in our bloodline.
Yeah. So I got a call from the significant other, and she's been fighting this thing for a while, and it's not COVID related or anything like that, but it's dry air related, and we'll leave it at that. And she's been bleeding out her nose. We'll just say it. She's been bleeding out her nose almost nonstop every day for weeks. Gone to the urgent care twice. They effed it up. And then...
Sorry, Bailey just opened the door on her own for the very first time in her
Fantastic.
1 year and 2 month life. Usually she just sits at the door that's half ajar and cries, but she finally figured out she can open it with her foot and walk out. But go
nice.
ahead.
Our boy has actually already learned the doggy door already. So she calls me. She goes, "I got to go to the ER," and I'm busy. You know how it is when we get work minded. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
just put them in the cone. Put him back in the cone of shame and throw him in the playpen. He'll be all right. Because we've taken the cone off. We've got a little recovery suit on him, but I'm still not quite fully trusting of it yet.
Like a Evel Knievel style, Elvis style jumpsuit, or
yeah, actually it's now blue camouflage, but it was actually a baby onesie this morning on backwards. And it worked out well.
You guys do realize you're severely suffering from first child syndrome, right?
Yeah, well, it's
You tell me
the
that-
second child, but
I
yes.
know, but you tell me a lot of the stuff you guys do for that dog, and you remind me of a client of mine who, at an advanced
Yeah.
age, got their first cat, and
Yeah.
this poor, time this thing sneezed improperly as going to the vet, she probably dropped $2,000 in the first 2 months trying to find the right science diet that this cat will eat. I'm getting all the hand-me-down stuff. Does your cat eat this? I'm like, my cat eats fucking shit from Walmart. Once you have 5 cats,
unfortunately, we haven't
3
gotten
dogs.
that bad with the food. But anyway, let me circle back. So how I rescued myself is I sat there for a minute, continuing to work. Well,
So what would Jesus do?
I'm good. I'm actually good. I have nothing going out today. You know what? My wife is going to the ER. I should probably go and
Yeah.
hang out with her, Although we can't get in because of the COVID protocol.
Well, I was going to say, for those playing along at home who hasn't been to the hospital during this whole thing, he's not an asshole for not going because they won't let you go. He would just spend his time sitting in the parking lot.
But I got a freshly neutered dog at the house. That
But you couldn't go to
we-
that either. You had to do the curbside drop off with the dog.
We had to do the curbside drop off with that one. He didn't have his cone on because she flew out the door. So I went home.
Now let me ask you this: will the inflatable neck raft, kind of like you see the airline passenger wear, will that not suffice instead of doing the cone? Because they do have those now.
say that unfortunately they're not as reliable, but that's why we switched from the cone to the suit.
No, okay.
Because I tell you what, that poor boy, his cone sticks out about 6 inches past his face.
Yeah, because Dad's dog's got the cone on too, and it's all from the food and everything else. It's just it's just a dirty nightmare.
Yeah, but dogs smell the ground when they go to use the bathroom, and every time that thing hit the ground, he'd yelp, and I would think would cause more damage because then it could tear something, that was removed.
He's running along sniffing, and it digs in. He goes after tea kind of like a kid who hits the front brakes on the bicycle when they're learning how to ride a bike.
I did some research, and it seems like the onesie thing's fine. And what's really good is he really doesn't even pay attention to that area. He's not trying to go at it or anything. He's just chilling. So I think in the long run, he'll be fine. This will be until about Monday, and then we can let him be him. But anyway, so I rescued myself there. I came home, and then I was like, well, let me go back to work. She goes, nope. I need you today. So I said, okay, I'll stay home the rest of the day. And I basically went and got a new humidifier for downstairs now.
Ooh.
Because it is dry as shit out here. And that's kind of what's causing it. We didn't run the humidifier for 2 weeks.
Humidifier shit in my day. We just put a big old pot of water on the stove and run it at medium.
Here you go. If you want to wait to gas. But yes. So that was that. Then obviously I went to get this thing started, and my computer decided to be like run like a 286, and that required a reboot. But otherwise, everything's okay. But speaking of doctors, have you ever seen the show the Good Doctor?
No.
So the Good Doctor stars a guy named Freddie Highmore.
It's a kid from
Bates Motel.
Yeah, Norman Bates kid. Now,
Well,
let's be honest and be fair. Is he one of these actors who kind of has one character and then just spreads it across different shows and platforms?
Completely different type of character. On this one, he plays an autistic guy. So
is that allowed in 2021? I thought we weren't allowed to have actors portraying something they're not. Aren't there plenty of people with autism? Is the kid from the Netflix series, does he have autism too? Even though I know his co-stars do. What's that show called?
Atypical.
Atypical, which is a fantastic show.
Fantastic show.
And they do actually hire for a lot of the extras people with Down syndrome and autism to play the supporting roles in his support group. So clap to them on that. But to have the kid play Norman Bates play autism, and there's clearly a lot of people out there looking for work. In this climate that we're in, we can't support this.
Well, where I'm going is kind of about the climate. So he plays basically an autistic doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And with autism and the spectrum disorders, one of the things he doesn't have is a filter. And they approached something that I thought they handled quite well as they could in these times. So there's a gay couple, or what you assume is gay couple, that came in.
Mm-hmm.
One of them wasn't doing well. Come to find out that the one not doing well is actually transitioned from female to male. Come to find out that transition patient was actually pregnant. And this is where the brilliance came in.
No, hold on.
He is autistic.
I'm a little confused.
Well,
so this is a woman who's now a man?
So is Dr. Sean Murphy, right?
I know, but is this a woman who's now a man?
This is a woman who's now a man who's pregnant.
Because
right?
obviously, as a man, as a woman, they can give them a vagina, but they can't give them fallopian tubes.
I need you to
Okay.
go like this. So Sean Murphy asked in Sean Murphy type way, "You're gay, right?" And the guy who's not pregnant said, "Well, yes." He goes, "But you're having vaginal intercourse with your husband because she transitioned, but she still got the parts." And everybody act like that was the worst thing. He's asking a question we all are fucking thinking. Us straight
from
guys
the mouths of babes. Kids say the most darndest things.
And they kind of shut him down pretty quickly. But I was actually surprised on network TV that question was asked. So you consider you're gay, but but you're having vaginal intercourse. And to which I looked at my wife and said, "See, Yeah, evidently gay guys like vagina too. But yeah,
Well, see, that's
I was
that's an
really
interesting
surprised. That's
thought,
an
though.
ABC show, and so it's Disney.
See, because at that point, I don't know. I'm not part of the
I don't know
Elemental
either.
P community, but you would think if you were gay and or lesbian and your partner originated as someone of the same sex but then transitioned, you figure that
I
point.
could buy that.
Well,
you
no,
know?
no. I'm thinking at that point you would have to announce that you're pansexual.
You like kitchen utensils,
No, meaning you down for anything, because otherwise, if you're
including pans.
if you're into it for the body aspect of it,
Correct.
then it would be you're no longer dating somebody of the same persuasion, at least when it comes to the organs.
Hi, my name is Tom McDonald. Welcome to the show. If you are
Where's the
easily
drop?
offended, then you probably should go.
Because
And
as we
that's
know,
why-
the chick, dude, guy, boy, person, him, her, he, she, them, they, their, whatever, from Umbrella Academy.
Juno?
Page, Elliot Page
Yeah.
now.
Ellen/Elliot Page.
He, formerly
that claims
she,
is a they.
they, them, whoever,
Why are we
was
picking plural anyway?
was
Is that multiple personalities?
was in
I'm
a
just
long-term
confused.
relationship with a female.
Mm-hmm.
But then Elliot transitioned into allegedly a male. And so they are no longer together. They're still good friends. But
Right.
once again, her significant other was a lesbian, was attracted to women. Not so much the biology and the personality per se. And so when Elliot transitioned and became a boy, that was enough of a life change impact for his, formerly her, significant other of a long period of time, that they had a mutual separation because that change impacted how the other person identified and was living their life.
I feel like I need a decoder ring to figure this
Be
out.
sure to drink your Ovaltine.
Yes, because it is wildly confusing.
Well, you got to give it the times, man.
Yeah, well,
Especially if you're going to be on a
I
podcast.
treat people like people. I don't care what they do, but why are we
People
bestowing
are
labels
people, so why
amongst
should it
ourselves
be
to separate ourselves even
you
more?
and I?
Anyway, but
Can I ask you a question? Let's do a little history. Let's change the subject a little bit. Unless you
that's fine.
we continue
No,
on something else. Unless you're still talking about the good doctor.
No, I'm pretty much done. I just thought it was an interesting
Oh, absolutely.
and surprising deal. Go ahead.
Do you
Question.
remember what happened in 1847?
I got to scratch back to my memory bank on
Let me
that one.
narrow that down a little bit. Do you remember what happened?
Evidently, we're old.
Do you remember what
so-
happened to the Irish in 1847?
You talking about the potato famine?
Yes, sir. Now, do you know how the Irish made it through the potato famine?
Not eating Lucky Charms. What is it?
Well, let's take a little. We're going to start out. I don't have an intro for this, but a little history lesson from TikTok, and then I went and did the research. Check this out. And this just goes to show how our media doesn't cover anything of importance here, because I found this out through a TikTok that comes from a European news source, or an Irish news source for that matter.
It was 1847, the height of the potato famine, when the struggling Choctaw community sent $170 to Ireland. Nearly 2 centuries later, their kindness has been returned with interest. With limited healthcare, food supplies and clean water, the Navajo and Hopi communities faced a humanitarian crisis.
At one point, we surpassed New York City for the most amount of COVID-positive cases and deaths per capita.
But help arrived from an unlikely source. Donations now totaling $1 million.
1 million.
The Irish were repaying their debt.
Alan O'Kelly, Shane Baldwin, Larry Rooney.
Irish donation after Irish donation. The journalist whose retweet sent the appeal viral says Ireland had never forgotten.
Dateline, October 14th, 2020. Okay, we're in 2021. This came out in October. Did our media cover any of this crap?
Is it positive?
Ding, ding, ding. Coronavirus. Irish citizens donate more than $1 million to Native Americans to repay the historic debt. Let's see. A bid to raise money for the Native American tribes impacted by coronavirus. Nobody did anything here. I never heard about it. There was no PBS special raising money. There was no Cuomo wasn't talking about this. No one had the head of the Native American, Preservation Society.
Oh, because it was all about getting Trump out of office.
Exactly. A bid to raise money for Native American tribes impacted by the coronavirus has seen more than $6 million handed to those in need after outpouring of support from Irish citizens looking to repay a 173-year-old debt. Residents of the Navajo Nation, a territory that straddles the United States of Utah, Arizona, and New Mexico, have at this point been among the worst affected by the pandemic worldwide. Worldwide. Not in the United States. Worldwide.
Again, that is worldwide.
With 6% of the region's population infected so far as of Wednesday the 14th, October 2020. That's how you know it's a European story, because the day comes before the date comes before the year. Among its issues facing residents were lack of access to clean running water and hygiene for hygiene purposes, with 1 in 3 living without indoor plumbing. However, the outpouring support that came from the unlikely source, Irish residents across the Atlantic looking to offer support as repayment to the Native American solidarity showing during the Great Potato Famine of the 1840s. Check this out. And see, this wouldn't fly today because, after all, white folk are horrible people, and we wiped out, which is true. We did some horrible shit to the Native Americans, but here's Native American. Hold
our
on,
forefathers did some.
Once again, this is in 1847, so this is only a few years. But this just goes to show you that the Native Americans don't look at a race as the entire race is being responsible for the actions of a few assholes, right? They understand different groups, just like in the Native American communities, you had some tribes that were assholes and some tribes that were cool. Anyhow, I digress. In 1847, the Choctaw Nation sent $170, the equivalent of $5,000 in today's money. Now, even $5,000 don't sound like a lot, but once again, you're talking about Native Americans who get all their money through trade and hunting. This isn't a group of people that have, factories and shit set up. This is a group of people who made their money simply through hunting and trading.
They didn't have casinos then either.
No. The equivalent of $5,000 in today's money to the starving Irish families suffering from the effects of the potato blight, which caused around 1 million deaths. One of our leadership members started noticing that we were receiving large sums of donations from Ireland. Cassandra Begay from the Navajo and Hopi Families COVID-19 Relief Group told NBC News. So NBC News was out there doing this report.
Now, did you look up NBC News? This article on NBC News?
No, I simply Googled coronavirus, Irish citizens donate $1 million, and guess where I had to go to get it? From The Independent, which is a European news source. So here you have an NBC reporter on site, probably who's a member of the Associated Press, who is a worldwide press organization, doing the story. But I don't recall, not that I watch NBC News, but the shit didn't make its way onto our Facebook, Twitter, or anything else. Didn't show up on any of my YouTube channels. But anyhow, I digress. Relief Group told NBC News, quote, and it's like, what's going on? Is our account been hacked? A total of 26,500 Irish citizens are reported to have donated more than $1 million toward the campaign, which has been used to distribute more than 1,000 gallons of water, as well as food items including flour and blue cornmeal. Ms. Begay added, we will never forget the history we made together. We will never forget how the Irish made us feel, heard and seen in this beautiful way.
So check this out. I did a quick Google search, NBC News Indian Irish donation, and it looks like all this was relegated to the shiny, happy morning shows. So it was a fluff Today Show. It aired on CBS This Morning. So it wasn't a regular nighttime, It was all in the morning when the only people really watching maybe housewives and, well, those unemployed.
And with that being said, I don't see it. I didn't see it in a Tucker Carlson clip. I didn't see it in a Sean Hannity clip.
Nope. Would have been perfect.
Yep. Hey, we're in the middle of this
They're just as
election
bad.
nonsense. We're in the middle of this COVID stuff. How about we wash our palate off with some great news about the Irish donating to the Native Americans? And by the way, if you would like to, head over to foxnews.com, click the Donate Now link to help out.
Simple as that.
Simple
But
as that.
nope.
Simple as
What
that.
sells
simple as that.
advertisements is two groups of chimps throwing feces at each other.
Ain't that the truth? Lady Gaga news. You and I were talking about this, and I'm starting to see the TikToks where French Bulldog owners are talking, showing themselves at gun range, saying, getting prepared to take my dog for a walk. For those of you who don't know, Lady Gaga owns 3 French Bulldogs, and she was over in Italy doing a movie while her dog walker was taking them out for a nightly walk. This caught on Ring doorbell, which I'm not going to play because it's just a bunch of horrible sound effects, but it happened after dark. And a car pulled up, demanded the dogs. He refused. He had 3 of them. They demanded the dogs, started wrestling with him. One of them shot him in the chest, took 2 of the 3 French Bulldogs, and left. Now, you would say to yourself, why? Why shoot somebody over French Bulldogs? Well, if you're over the age of 40, I'm going to say shame on you, because you should remember when we were growing up when people were getting shot over Nikes and starter jackets. So it's not uncommon to shoot people for semi-expensive objects. How expensive, might you ask? Well, in the 80s and 90s, the shoes that they were shooting people over cost $300, and the jackets are about $250. These dogs range anywhere between $8,000 to $20,000, depending on what they look like. Not saying herds, I'm just saying French Bulldogs in particular. So if you're the type of asshole who don't have a problem with shooting random people over monetary valuable things, then when you're driving down the street and you see somebody walking down the street with anywhere between $23,000 to $30,000 worth of dog, what's going to stop you from getting out and trying to remove that money from them? And once again, these are the type of people who decided, well, let's go steal some dogs and let's bring a gun to the party.
Well, real quick, it sounds like it's a little more than a happenstance. It sounds like they were 2 people who was looking for a ransom for those said dogs. They knew whose dogs they were.
Really, because as of February 27th, 2021, and you can read what you're looking at, a woman returned Lady Gaga's stolen dogs to the Los Angeles Police Department on Friday, but the mystery of their kidnapping and the shooting of the dog's walker only intensified. The dogs were stolen in a brazen violent attack in Hollywood at 9:40 p.m. Wednesday. 2 men leapt out of what appears to be a white sedan at the 1500 block of North Sierra Bonita Avenue and demanded Gaga's dog walker, Ryan Fisher, to hand over the musician's 3 French Bulldogs. As Fisher struggled with the robbers, one of them shot him in the chest. The assailants grabbed 2 of the dogs and sped off. Police say that they have no suspects in the attack. Law enforcement sources, who spoke only in the condition of anonymity because of the case is ongoing, believes the kidnapping dogs was the motive, but not for sure if the assailants knew the dogs belonged to the pop star. Captain John Tippett, who led the Los Angeles Police Department Robbery Homicide Division, said the woman walked into the police department Olympic Station with the dogs about 6 p.m. Friday, said she believed the dogs belonged to Gaga. No news where she found them or how she got them. The detectives assigned to the case said representatives from Lady Gaga went to the station and confirmed that the dogs in fact were hers. It appears the woman, whom Tippett would not name, was not involved in the robbery or associated with the assailants. So what, she just sees 2 Frenchies walking around and assumes they're Lady Gaga's? That's a little suspicious to me, but anyhow, although the captain cautioned that the investigation was still underway. Lady Gaga has issued a $500,000 reward for the return of the dogs. Tippett declined to discuss the reward, but said Gaga's representatives will be in contact with the woman. Quote, they had a motive. They did not care, said Carlos Patonia, 29, who said he witnessed the shooting from his front porch before calling 911 and comforting the dog walker Ryan Fisher on the street. In the video, one of the assailants says, give it up, as a pair jumped out of the white Nissan Altima on the 1500 block, which we previously discussed, right in front of this dude's house, with the Amazon Ring camera on the porch. Homeboy shared the video with the Times and hoped that it could help bring the perpetrators to justice. But in here, they don't say anything about them knowing it's her dog and wanting a ransom.
So this was actually on TMZ on the 26th.
Okay.
And it is TMZ, but they do bring up some interesting things. They're thinking that Lady Gaga may have been the target of the criminals who shot her dog walker and stole the two of her French bulldogs. That somebody from law enforcement told TMZ. We're told the LAPD is seriously looking into the possibility that the shooter/thieves knew the dogs were owned by Gaga, and the video obtained by TMZ more than supports this theory. And it says, if you look closely, the car that comes upon the dog walker, Ryan Fisher, clearly was headed for him. The car stops. The two people immediately jump out and attack the dog walker. There's no way they could have instantly known these dogs were a valuable breed. They're small, and it was dark outside. The dogs could have been easily rescues, mixed breeds, or less valuable breed. In fact, these criminals knew. What's more, the law enforcement sources told TMZ that Ryan Fisher told numerous people in the neighborhood he was walking Gaga's dogs. Loose lips sink ships. So lots of people knew. From what we knew, or what TMZ knew, this was supposed to be a short walk at 10 p.m. that night, so the dogs could go use the bathroom. It's not like the robbers were able to follow him for long distances. If they were indeed targeting Gaga's dog, they could have scoped him out in the days before determining his walking schedule.
Seems about right.
There's the conspiracy theory on it.
I think I'm back. Speaking of Independent and Sky News, we played a clip on last week's episode about an Australian news reporter from Sky News kind of sticking it to our media here in the United States with their lack of coverage on Joe Biden and his mental state. Well, apparently this is a growing trend on Sky News, because despite what our media tells you about what world leaders and the world media think of Orange Man being bad and how great the Democratic Party is, it appears not to be the case, because here's some more news coming from the Sky News primetime news desk out of Australia.
It was 1847,
Well,
the height
wrong
of the
one.
potato.
That's the
You
1847.
do know that Sky News was the ones who owned Fox, right?
Well, still, this is stuff that's not really heard too much here, because no, I did not know that, but here's what we heard anyhow.
Let me just say this. The best thing that we said about Joe Biden as the leader of the world's democracies is that he continues to blunder on. Nonetheless, he continues to enjoy a dream honeymoon from the US media. In a puff piece in Glamour magazine, we were told recently, quote, First Lady Jill Biden wore a scrunchie while shopping and people felt so seen. That's SWN. When Donald Trump was president, the typical CNN fare was chronicling Trump's 10 worst abuses of power. How does the Western world survive and democracy thrive if there's not honest and objective assessment of this already flawed president? I previously mentioned that Biden has allowed tens of thousands of illegal immigrants to flood across America's southern border. But Biden would have you believe he's trying to stop the spread of coronavirus. The contradictions are everywhere. He says he's going to create jobs. Well, Trump created more than any president in history. But Biden, in an executive order, stopped the contract on the Keystone
Pipeline cut off there. So you're saying Sky News is owned by Fox News?
Yeah, they were. I think they're both owned by Disney now. So, Disney's buying up everything. Didn't you
That's
know that?
insane. No, I didn't know that. But, I knew they're buying up a lot of the crap, but I didn't realize they're buying up that much.
Yep.
We've all heard the arguments of why $15 an hour for the new minimum wage is not the best thing in the world, right?
That is correct. Oh, I'm sorry. Sky News is now a division of Comcast.
Okay, and Comcast isn't exactly known to be the super most right-leaning thing in the world, so...
So everything's shifted from the last time I've...
Well, no, that's a good thing, though, because that just means it's, it would suck if it was owned by Fox News, because then you're just, okay, well, there's just another news store sharing the same narrative as Fox News. The fact that it's
they were both started by Rupert Murdoch.
Yeah.
So, it did start somewhere.
Yeah. Here's a interesting point to the $15 an hour that probably haven't been thought of. I mean, obviously we know why that high of a minimum wage is not good, especially for small business. We've seen it, some people claim that's why McDonald's got the self-service counters, but as you pointed out, that was in the works long before the California raised the minimum wage. And I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of those self-checkout kiosks don't even work anymore. Most people don't even use them. They still go to
They haven't. McDonald's here hasn't had anybody allowed to go inside since the beginning of the pandemic. And what's funny is I was eating bad because I not doing too well on the plan, but it's getting figured out. Five Guys, we decided to stop there yesterday, and they still don't let people dine in.
That's crazy. You guys are too close to California.
Well, that's a corporate decision. We're allowed to be at 35%, but 35%.
But see, that's a corporate decision in a world that is too close to California because our Five Guys has dining, and it's the same corporation. So
which is funny because Five Guys is peanuts everywhere, and they haven't stopped that with the peanut allergies.
But here's an interesting aspect of why the government would want to incorporate $15 an hour. You think, what's in it for the government? What do you think would be in it for the government to incorporate $15 an hour minimum wage?
More taxes.
That's a good thought. Anything else?
Some of it's going to be pandering.
That's a big thought. But
huge thought. And
you got to look at
something else.
There's always the sneaky aspect.
Oh, there always is.
So let's find out something about the $15 an hour hypothesis that some people are floating that you probably haven't thought of.
The $15 minimum wage would be about $31,000 annually.
So now let's talk about this from a different viewpoint. Everybody's like, oh, well, you know what, inflation, if we raise it to $15 an hour, things are going to cost more, there's going to be more layoffs. Yeah, maybe so, maybe not. Let's talk about something else, though, that nobody else is really talking about. $15 an hour is roughly $31,000 a year. Do you know what that does? That takes you out of range for government assistance, which last I checked was $26,000 a year. And when you get government assistance, you get things like food stamps and free health care, among other things, depending on the state and county and all that stuff where you live. Second, you move to $31,000 a year, you're no longer eligible, which means now you have to buy your own groceries, you have to pay for your own health care, so you actually took a pay cut.
And so even if you're making $15 an hour but working part-time, that'll probably get you close to that $26,000 a year cutoff, which will lighten the burden on the entitlement programs. Now, obviously not everybody's going to do that, but the people who do work minimum wage jobs but still collect some sort of benefit package because they're below the poverty level of $26,000 a year, hypothetically, yes, it would impact small businesses horribly. It would cause large businesses to hire less people. But for those of us still having jobs, especially those making minimum wage, you'd only have to work part-time, get to that $26,000 a year, and lose all your government supplements.
Well, yes, and then the government will
More
move
taxes.
what they consider the poverty line up.
That's what's going to be my second thing. That'll be great for 3 years, and then it gives them more electoral power when they run on their platform of why they need to raise the poverty level because of cost of living and inflation. And then they can get votes today by promising $15 an hour and then get votes 4 years from now when they're going to raise the poverty level to $32,000, get all those people back onto the supplement plan.
So I actually had an argument with somebody online, and it turned into an argument because he stated something, and the line you use that really incensed somebody is say, "Oh, that's cute," but that means, and then my response was, that means that it's actually the middle class that's going to get squeezed because prices will go up, middle class pay will not go up. And they're like, "Well, if you look at history, middle class pay goes up." And this and that, and I was like, but it's a circular, but that's why we got to bring up the cost of because cost of living's gone up, because that's why we got to bring up the sorry, there's somebody throttling down the road. Bring up the minimum wage so they can afford to live. And like, you just defeated your own argument, and it's because one of the reasons we have to bring up minimum wage to be able to afford to live, because the costs are going up already.
Mm-hmm.
It's eating its tail. It's just inflation. And even though inflation hasn't been that high this last year, as we've seen with the gas pump lately, and yes, the freeze in Texas has a little bit to do with it. OPEC shutting down production has a little bit to do with it, but shutting down the potential pipelines and really strictening regulations here is playing into the the problem with the gas.
Now, speaking of Texas, we all heard about the people who still had power getting these super high inflated bills, right? Well, it turns out
like
that's not
$1,000 bill.
$16,000, $20,000. Well, it turns out it's not everybody who had electric. It's the people who apparently in Texas, you have some
They basically
choices.
are buying on the commodities market at wholesale.
Yes, that's exactly right. They were signed up for this company called Giddy Electric, and it would save them a staggering $10 a month.
Those people are going, get it.
And here's how it works.
For those of you who heard about people in Texas receiving $10,000 electric bills during the deep freeze last week, here's what happened. Texas is a deregulated state. Depending on the size of your town, you might have anywhere from 1 to 40 options of who you want to get your electricity from. The people who got those $10,000 bills were customers of Griddy, who has since been kicked out of the ERCOT system and can no longer provide energy in Texas. They were what is known as a wholesaler who charged a $10 a month fee to be a part of their network. It's not the same, but it's similar to a variable rate mortgage. When energy is cheap, you save money. When energy gets expensive, you get screwed. A normal electric company will charge you a flat fee per kilowatt hour. When natural gas is super cheap, it might only cost them 5-6 cents per kilowatt hour to provide you energy, but they're still going to charge you 10 cents. During the deep freeze last week, prices of natural gas skyrocketed. So people who tried to save $10 a month and signed up for a wholesale plan got screwed. Always know what you're signing up for, and just to save $10, don't sign up for a plan that you might get shafted.
And furthermore, don't sign up with a business called Griddy. It's in the name. I mean, come on. I got my gas from Shysters International, and then they shysted me on my price, and it went through the roof, and now I got to sell my car to pay my gas bill for the month of April.
So what I don't understand with the air regulation, and this is probably because I am an electrician, it's one of the things I think about is like, well, you'll buy your power from this source instead of this source. Yeah, but this source's lines are still, all the lines are still maintained by the one said source. Mm-hmm. So they're still going to get their beak wet because they still got to maintain those power lines.
Yes, because that came from the antitrust lawsuits. Just like, obviously, when you live in a town, you want competition, but you don't want a phone pole with 33 different telephone lines, 83 different cable company lines. And so the big boys will run the main infrastructure. So you have one set of lines, and then they will rent that equipment out to the smaller companies. One, it looks better. And two, it prevents monopolization, even though Comcast still monopolizes the shit out of everything. But as far as the deregulation stuff, and we're doing a fantastic job this week of staying away from the politics, but I got to bring this in because we mentioned it earlier. Not only did Biden get rid of the Keystone Pipeline, but he brought back one of the things Obama did, which was to put a moratorium on offshore drilling off the coast of Louisiana and the Gulf of Mexico and further out into the ocean, right?
For U.S. companies, correct?
Exactly. And Obama did this too. And when Obama did this, once you got into the international waters, all that did was allow Russia and China to do all the drilling. Two countries that aren't exactly known for their environmental policies.
Yeah, their policies are not nearly even in the same universe as being as strict as ours.
So if you are a environmentalist and you want to protect the oceans, you want the American company in that spot because they got the standards that your protest and your forms that you had people sign, your petitions to get
environmental impact studies,
all the stuff that you and your people got put into place, these companies have to abide by. Russia and China doesn't.
Remember the saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Mm-hmm. And so,
but there's the not my backyard thing, but yet it's still in your backyard. And that is about all I got for politics tonight.
Well, I got one more thing. It's not politics. It's more about cancel culture, freedom of speech. But we're going to go across the pond to Oxford University by a woman by the name of Anne Windercombe, who looks like she's about 79. But I think this will basically sum everything you need to know with this week's TikTok lesson of the week.
And now for the What's in Your Head podcast TikTok lesson of the week.
Nobody has the right to live their lives being protected from offense or from insult or from hurt feelings. It is an occupational hazard of living in society. And if you really can't take it, become a hermit. But more seriously, on the opposite end from the snowflakes, poor little darlings, on the opposite end from them are the totalitarians. Now, I would love to stand in this union and oppose and argue with and take to pieces a Holocaust denier. But if we say no, we can never have the Holocaust denier because his views are so offensive that he cannot be accorded a platform. Then what happens?
Basically, she's saying what we have said on here. If you cancel everything that people are saying, then how do you have a debate? How do you make them look dumb and prove what they're saying to be wrong?
I love her message, but I have to follow it up with love, true love.
Marriage is the reason that brings us here together. But it does sound smarter with the Cockney accent.
Yeah, and it's a drama. It's a upper crust Cockney accent.
Like you said last week, if somebody with a southern drawl would have gave that same exact speech, it wouldn't have landed in the same way.
It really, and it's unfortunate. And as much as it sounds like a slamming southern drawl, it actually comes from our roots of Scotland and Ireland. And
this thing on the cancel culture, it's so funny because, as you guys know, I've been spending a whole inordinate amount of time on TikTok lately. And there's these creators, and there's one I follow, and I don't want to call her out by name because I'm not here to do that because I don't want to be accused of canceling somebody. I'm down for her content. We actually played a clip of hers back. I think she was one of the very first TikTok lessons of the week.
All right, TikTok, it's time to piss some people off. Time for a very unpopular opinion. I don't do gay stuff. Pride, gay flags, gay apparel, gay parades. I don't do any of the gay stuff. I just have the girlfriend. Nothing against the LGBTQ LMNOP. But I mean, we kind of fought that battle already and won. So, like, straight people don't need a flag waved in their face. When I was a teenager, it was just about making your presence known because nobody wanted to acknowledge us. But now it's way different. It was not cool or popular or trendy to be gay when I was a teenager. But it is now. So, like, enough with the constant in-your-face rainbow shit. My flag always has been and always will be. Red, white, and blue.
Now, she's an open lesbian. She's about our age. She's also conservative. She's done TikToks with the backpack you talk about where you pull it up and your gun strapped to the front and it's got the bulletproof vest because she got hooked up with a deal. And that's great.
Vertex.
And ever since she put out that TikTok, she's blown up. She's got well over 1 million followers. It's fantastic. And she does a lot of content where, you know, this, that, and everything. Well, there was another very popular account called The Vegan Teacher. And this was one that's super diehard annoying vegans. This chick was like in her 60s. She would badmouth people. She would just shit all over people and piss people off to unknown ends, which is fine.
That's great. I mean, one thing vegans got to remember, those grains have dead mice in them somewhere.
But my whole point is she got canceled. The Vegan Teacher is gone. And when she made sub accounts, TikTok deleted them too. Now,
how bad you got to be to tick off TikTok?
You just got to get a bunch of people to file community standard guidelines and you get canceled. I'm in the middle of the show. What's up? I can't see what you're doing. You found your earbud? Good job. I'm in a show. I'm live on the internet. What's up? Just open the door and ask me. Hurry up. You're killing time. Yes, I will put your laundry in the dryer. Good night. But anyhow, to my point, I'm seeing these TikTok creators who are supposed to be who openly promote freedom of speech and the sharing of ideas.
Right.
Who put up videos celebrating the fact that the almighty evil Vegan Teacher, which I was not a fan of, had been canceled. There was another TikTok creator, some stupid little asshole. He's probably 20. He did this horrible video where he had a green screen of the 9/11, the fucking towers behind him. Not during 9/11, just an old picture of the Twin Towers. And he dated at 9/11, and he had the song of Training Men playing behind him. Bad taste. Fucking stupid.
Don't even get the point. Oh, no, I got the point. It took me a second to get to that leap. Pardon the pun.
Anyhow, he got canceled.
Mm-hmm.
Now, once again, I didn't support either one of those two, but I had to put out a TikTok myself saying, hey, as someone who has personally put out videos talking about I don't support cancel culture, and I have used the hashtag cancel culture, how are people who have content who are supposed to be celebrating the diversity of ideas and freedom of speech, then turning around and putting out videos celebrating the fact that people that they don't agree with got their shit canceled? The only cancel culture I agree with is canceling people by not using their shit. If you don't like somebody, don't reshare their videos, don't fucking like their account, don't comment on it, and don't duet it, because then TikTok will stop sharing it and they won't get any followers and they'll dwindle away. There's no reason to go out and complain and get them shut down. Do it like you do a business. If you don't like the fact that the bakery didn't bake a cake for a gay couple, don't shop at that bakery. No one else will. They'll lose money and they'll slowly go out of business. You don't cancel them.
There's nothing more powerful in a statement than silence.
Yeah. It's kind of...
Ignore it. Done.
You know, the other thing I find gross...
You die on the vine.
I find gross, and you see this a lot on TV commercials, where the company will put out a commercial talking about all the great charity they do. When the and when you can ask any Jewish family, the number one form of charity is that charity done anonymously. I don't want to point out any names, but I used to work for a company who had their employees go out and spend a day doing building houses for Housing for Humanity, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't there that day, but 2 weeks later, I found a video on the internet of them building said houses with their company brand all over it. So their piece of charity was truthfully just a marketing campaign, which I find
come see,
gross.
come saw, man. That's unfortunately where it's at.
Yeah, I just find it's gross. But anyhow,
It is.
You ready for the news?
Let's do the news.
Joining us now from the Digital 410 West News Desk in Las Vegas, Nevada, Gordon Abernathy.
Gordon, how you doing tonight? Make it quick, because apparently I got to do some laundry.
That's fine. We were talking about the old house, right? The old house, we had a two-for outhouse, correct? Remember
Was
the
that a double-seater?
two-seater outhouse?
I
Yeah.
can't remember if that was a double-seater. Be
It
honest
was.
with you,
I had dog skeleton underneath. It's kind of weird.
I don't remember that outhouse as much as I remember the one at the river, because that one was basically there for prosperity and not for use. We had indoor plumbing in Richwood.
Actually, there was a period that we didn't, and I had to use it. But that being said, the one down on the river, you should remember the most. So check this out. We've always thought of the creepy crawlies and the spiders, right?
Snakes.
Yeah, well, an Alaskan woman, she went to use an outhouse, but she was attacked below by a bear.
Oh, a bear was down in the shitter?
A bear grabbed her bare ass, yes.
Oh, Jesus.
And this is AP out of Anchorage, Alaska. An Alaska woman had the scare of, it's probably quite literally scared the shit out of her, scare of her lifetime when using an outhouse in the backcountry. She was attacked by a bear from below. According to Shannon Stevens, I got out there and sat down on the toilet, and immediately something bit my right butt as I sat down. I jumped up and I screamed when it happened. Her brother, Eric, her brother, Eric, and his girlfriend had taken snowmobiles, or they like to call snow machines up in Alaska, out into the wilderness February the 13th to stay in his yurt, which is located about 30 miles northwest of Haines.
Did the yurt or the turtle live in a yurt?
No, he didn't.
Was he really that offended by the 30 dirty boys sitting on a koi, boiping and choiping and eating dirty white worms?
Boy, he was destroyed. Anyway, her brother heard screaming and went out to the outhouse, which was located about 150 feet away from the yurt. There he found Shannon. She was already tending to her wounds.
And she
At first
something bit me.
First, hey, where'd you go? Your face was gone.
Stimpy fell off the desk and unplugged my camera, but go ahead.
Anyway, so they thought originally she was bitten by like a squirrel or a mink or something small. So he had brought out his headlamp and was seeing what it was. And as soon as he opened the toilet seat, there was just a bear's face right there at the level of the toilet seat, looking right back through the hole right at him. He said, I just shut the lid as fast as I could. There's a bear down there, and we got to get out of here now. So they ran back to the yard as fast as they could.
Now, was that a full-size bear or a bear cub?
I don't think they had a chance to really look at the bear.
Mm-hmm.
But the next morning, they did find bear tracks all over the property, but the bear did leave the area. And they believe it was a black bear. It wasn't one of the big, scary brown bears. So they think that the bear got inside the outhouse through the opening at the bottom of the back door, or of the back door. So as you know, with the outhouse, there's kind of sometimes there's a little scooch in the bottom so they can clean it out. They thought he thought it was probably not a bad place to den down in the winter. But it was basically a black bear that's been in the area. And that's that.
Hey, I'm back.
Hey, and you're back. So
I'm red, though.
What is one of your favorite brands of vehicles in the world?
I'm a big fan of the Volvo. I mean, of the Yugo, but I think didn't the Yugo go extinct after the Gulf War because we bombed their plant?
I think it was the Yugoslavian Civil War.
Yeah, the Yugo.
That.
But anyhow, no, I'm a Toyota fan.
But you're also part of that axis of power.
Volkswagen. Hey, to the victor goes the spoils.
Yes. So, and I know you like your VW buses.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're as crazy about them as Gabriel Iglesias.
Well, I don't have Gabriel Iglesias money. You know, a 21 window restored Volkswagen bus about 15 years ago went for $21,000 or more. So basically you're paying $1,000 per window.
How jealous are you of me for traveling across the country in a Volkswagen bus with no heat?
Depends on the quality of the bus. If I ever win the lottery or become better off than I am now, my go-to will be to call up my buddy JJ over at South Motorsports and say, hey, go out and find me like a 52 Beetle lowered with a rebuilt engine and hook me up.
Well, check it out. So back in 2017, Volkswagen unveiled a concept vehicle, the bus. And now they're talking about this concept going autonomous. So the long-awaited revival of the Volkswagen microbus will finally happen in the year 2022.
Now, I'm looking at the green one you sent me a picture of.
Uh-huh.
And if you look on Facebook here momentarily, it should pop up. It looks like they put a stoned face on the front.
Could have.
The headlights are super tiny.
Yep.
You have the Volkswagen symbol in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And then down on the bumper, you have two round octagons of LED lights. But then the air dam looks like a smiley face. So it looks like somebody's been blazing all night long. If you go on Facebook now, you should see it.
Those are also concept vehicles, which are usually a far throw from what actually hits the road.
John Kraft, you're kind of right. I don't think BMW is not in the... You're thinking Volkswagen, Porsche, and Audi, as well as Volkswagen bought out Ducati motorcycles from Harley Davidson a few years back.
Well, according to Volkswagen, they will integrate autonomous driving technology into what they're calling the Volkswagen ID Buzz. There's your stone face. Mm-hmm. Making it a 21st century
callback to an era
filled with nostalgia. So while the production version of the van is set to be revealed in 2022, Volkswagen US CEO Scott Koch reportedly told Automotive News that the ID Buzz won't be available for sale in the U.S. until 2023. The concept vehicle's much heralded debut comes in the early stages of a current trend that we saw now called van life, in which people travel the country living out of their vans by choice. The trend has obviously taken off due to the pandemic, as Americans have taken advantage of being able to work remotely.
Now, if you look at the green one from the head-on shot, which you're going to have to wait a second and it'll refresh, that looks very similar to the classic buses that we all know and love. But then if you look at the blue one from the side, the windshield, the driver's side windows look a lot like the Volkswagens that were out in the 90s. One of my teachers, John Hampson, used to drive one. And so the windshield and the doors look very reminiscent to the 90s era Volkswagen vans.
Was it the Westfala or something like that?
It was basically a modern day with the what we would call cab over engine, where it had the doghouse. You'd have to do all the work on the inside.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I like it, but it's still, for me, it's...
Well, remember, it's all electric, too. So it will have a range of, they're thinking at the time, in 2017, 270 miles per charge. It's unclear if that figure will stick. However, and let's little segue, Toyota, they have actually released that they're working on a new dry-type battery that could range up to like 500 plus miles and recharge fully within an hour.
Supposed to be the largest known competitor to what Tesla has to offer.
Oh, it'll blow Tesla out of the water from a battery.
Assuming
technology
Tesla doesn't
standpoint.
already have one in the works.
Which they work with Panasonic on, so they could have. So I wanted to go back to pets for this final story. And we've covered these kind of stories before, but this one has a twist. Cockfights. Well, this one said fuck off to this guy because a rooster kills an Indian man during a band
Dots or
cockfight.
feathers?
Oh, it's dots. Not to be offensive. Not
offensive. You didn't say...
You asked the question.
You said Dotso instead of saying Middle Eastern or Indian persuasion, so you still kept it offensive.
This is the Indians that have the English accent at times. Okay? Hyderabad, India. A man was killed by a rooster with a blade tied to its leg during an illegal cockfight in southern India. You are glitching bad over there, Max Headroom. Police said bringing focus on the practice that continues in some Indian states despite the decades-long ban.
Hey, it's cultural. You can't judge, Whitey.
Apparently. The rooster, with a 3-inch knife tied to its legs, fluttered in panic and slashed the owner, 145-year-old Tangula Sadish, in the groin last week.
Ooh.
Cock got him in the cock. Police Inspector B. Jeevan said on Sunday the incident occurred out in a remote village in a state that I cannot pronounce and not even going to try. So according to Jeevan Sadish, who was injured, according to them, he was injured while he prepared the rooster for the fight, so it hadn't even started yet. He was hit by the rooster's knife in his groin, and he just started bleeding heavily, which means he probably got a hold of the
artery.
femoral artery there, or the what? Sorry, I'm getting distracted by a cat. Needless to say, good for the rooster.
Absolutely.
Good for the... I know they say good for the goose, good for the gander, but good for the cock. Great for the dickhead. Well,
that's a stretch.
It is a stretch. I've run out of steam. That is all I have for news.
This concludes the evening news, and now back to the ACT Computer Studio in Cape Coral, Florida.
Thank you, Gordon, so much. And this episode of the What's in Your Head podcast is brought to your friends by ACT Computers. ACT Computers has been providing IT solutions for all Southwest Florida since 2004. So if you have any computer problems, give them a call at 239-283-1120 or go to act-capecoral.com. And if you don't live in the state of Florida, that's fine. They can still help you remotely. So as long as you have working internet, give them a call at 239-283-1120 or go to act-capecoral.com or look them up at Facebook and send them a message through Facebook Messenger. Just look for ACT Computers Cape Coral on Facebook. They can help you out 2-form authentication, antivirus, and so much more. Give them a call at 239-283-1120. And if you haven't done so, please head over to d-410.com or the not named enough what'sinyourhead.com. That's right. That's what's in your head, just like the logo.com. And you can listen to all our previous shows. You can see our videos. You can buy shirts. And you can support the channel by signing up for Patreon and go and watch the video where I made the phone scammer lose his mind. It's $1 a month, people. Head over there, d-410.com or whatsinyourhead.com. And if you're on a smartphone or mobile device, you got to scroll to the bottom, click on the orange Patreon link, and sign up. It's $1 a month. And you can get all your merchandise there as well. Click on, if you're at d-410.com, click on the social link, and you can find all of our TikToks, YouTubes, etc., etc. Head over to youtube.com and look for Digital 410 and Analog 410. We'll have more videos coming to you guys soon. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us for another episode of the What's in Your Head podcast. For Gordon and myself, thank you guys so much. And remember, if you never get out of your comfort zone, you'll never get out of bed. So get up, challenge yourself. You'll be surprised at what you can accomplish. Thank you guys so much, and we'll talk to you next Monday.
Have a great evening.
This has been a Digital 410 production.